I used to think the upper class drove luxury cars, wore tailored suits, and vacationed in yachts. You know, the classic TV version. But the more I've learned, the more I've realized that the truly wealthy, they rarely look like the picture you have in mind. You probably passed someone upper class at the grocery store last week. Wore sneakers, maybe jeans and a plain hoodie. Nothing screamed money, but if you looked closely, something felt different. That's because the upper class doesn't need to look rich. In fact, they often look average, on purpose. And once you understand why, you'll never look at wealth the same way again. Let's break down the psychology, strategy, and real reasons why the upper class chooses to blend in rather than stand out. Number 1. Loud is weak. Quiet is power. Here's the thing. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most powerful. Real wealth doesn't need validation. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It moves quietly, deliberately, and efficiently. When someone shows up in head-to-toe designer, flashy jewelry, and a car that costs more than a house, chances are they're either new to money, deep in debt, or just trying too hard. The upper class, they don't need to prove anything. That's the difference. True power doesn't need applause. It needs freedom, and freedom doesn't always look flashy. Number 2, blending in is a financial strategy. Looking average is a shield. It's protection. It's calculated. If no one knows how wealthy you are, no one expects anything. You're not expected to tip extra, pay for the whole table, or fund your cousin's startup. You avoid unwanted attention. You don't become a target for scams, guilt trips, or opportunistic relationships. The upper class knows this. Looking low-key gives you room to observe, move strategically, and avoid being boxed into people's assumptions. When everyone thinks you're just normal, you get to operate in peace. Number 3, time becomes more valuable than image. There's a point in wealth building where time becomes your most expensive asset. That's when you stop chasing trends, logos, and curated appearances, because it's not worth the time, the energy, or the decision fatigue. Why spend 40 minutes picking an outfit or researching the latest must-have sneakers when you could spend that energy scaling your business, mentoring someone, or enjoying your family? The average-looking outfit isn't laziness. It's efficiency. It's a wardrobe that doesn't compete with your priorities. Steve Jobs wore the same thing every day. Mark Zuckerberg still wears gray t-shirts. Not because they're cheap, but because they've outgrown performance. Number 4, flashy spending is usually fake. Here's a hard truth. Most of the time when someone is loudly spending, it's not with cash, it's with credit. They're financing the car, leasing the watch, renting the lifestyle. It looks impressive, but underneath is stress, pressure, and monthly payments. The upper class has the money to buy anything, which is exactly why they don't feel the need to prove it. They don't rent success for likes. They build it, own it, and live it without posting a thing. Number 5, they've shifted from impressing to preserving. When you're new to money, you want to show people you've made it. You want to impress, but when you've been wealthy long enough, that wears off. You start to care more about preserving your wealth than displaying it. You think about legacy, about your kids, about generational impact. The goal is no longer to be seen, it's to sustain. That's why you'll find multimillionaires living in modest homes, driving older cars and keeping a low profile. They're playing a longer game. Looking rich is expensive. Staying rich is invisible. Number 6, simplicity is the new flex. There's something deeply powerful about a person who can afford everything, but chooses simplicity. It's not that they can't buy the flashy watch, it's that they don't need it. Simplicity becomes a quiet kind of status. A signal to other people in the know that this person values freedom, peace, and utility over performance. Wearing the same pair of well-made shoes for 5 years isn't being cheap, it's being intentional. And ironically, the people who try the least often have the most. Number 7, their networks aren't impressed by flash. In upper-class circles, status isn't earned by what you wear. It's earned by what you know, what you build, and how you think. They aren't gathering to compare handbags or car keys. They're talking strategy, structure, investments, and innovation. If you walk into that room dripping in designer, it doesn't raise your value. It quietly lowers your perceived awareness. In those spaces, looking too loud reads as insecurity. It signals that you're still trying to prove something. Real upper-class circles don't chase prestige. They are prestige. And they value people who bring substance, not sparkle. Number 8, they invest in invisible assets. Here's something to think about. Upper-class people often spend money, but not on what you think. They invest in things that don't show on Instagram, like estate lawyers, trusts, passive income portfolios, insurance, tax strategy, education. It's money spent building a moat around their freedom. They'll drop $10,000 on a course or a connection that gives them 30 years of access. But they won't buy a $3,000 belt to match someone's aesthetic. Why? Because they've learned that real assets don't always look like assets. Number 9, they respect money too much to waste it on image. Ask someone upper class how they got there, and chances are they didn't waste money on ego. Even if they inherited wealth, the mindset still applies. They've been taught to make money work for them, not wear it. They value efficiency, compound growth, and control. They understand that money is a tool, not a costume. Looking average is a sign of respect for the work, the planning, and the discipline it took to build their wealth in the first place. They'd rather buy a business than a billboard lifestyle. Number 10, being low-key lets you be free. When no one knows how rich you are, you're free. You can walk into a grocery store without being judged. You can speak your mind without people assuming you're arrogant. You can help people quietly. You can make decisions without outside pressure. That kind of freedom, it's priceless. The upper class doesn't stay quiet because they're hiding. They stay quiet because peace is the ultimate luxury. Number 11, their confidence isn't worn, it's felt. When you've built real wealth, confidence comes from results, not reactions. That's why the upper class doesn't feel the need to dress a certain way or prove anything. Their security isn't wrapped in a logo, it's baked into how they live. They're confident because they've done the work. They've made the decisions. They've weathered storms and learned patience. And that energy, you can't fake it. It's calm, it's measured, it's grounded. They walk into a room without needing to dominate it, because presence speaks louder than presentation. Real wealth walks softly and leaves a lasting impression. Number 12, looking average keeps you curious. One of the biggest secrets of upper-class success? Curiosity. When you're not busy putting on a show, you have space to listen, to learn, to watch. Looking average lets you be the observer, not the spectacle. You ask questions. You explore ideas. You're not distracted by trying to be impressive. You're focused on getting better. And that curiosity compounds. It leads to better conversations, better decisions, better investments. It's not just a humility move, it's a power move. Because the person who listens more often ends up learning more. The truly wealthy don't look the part on purpose. They know that money works best when it moves quietly, when it's not on display, when it doesn't need to explain itself. They've learned that peace is greater than applause. That ownership, attention. That real success isn't worn, it's lived. So next time you meet someone who seems ordinary, look closer. They just might be living a life of quiet luxury, silent power, and unapologetic freedom. And if you're building that kind of life, you're already ahead.